First of all, Michelle, thank you. Really, really thank you for joining us here on today's conversation. I'm really pleased to be introducing you as the VP of Strategic Customers in North America at Schneider Electric. A little bit of background for folks who aren't familiar with Schneider Electric, been around for very long time, since 1836, I believe. You operate in over 100 countries. You're known for all of the innovation around digital solutions, sustainability, operational resilience. In 2024, Schneider Electric reported around $46 billion in revenues, which I think is about a third of that is in North America, with huge growth in energy management, data centers, digital transformation. More recently, Schneider Electric was voted the most sustainable company in the world by Time Magazine. For the second year in a row in 2025. So, very, very impressive. And the other thing which I thought was particularly interesting, Michelle, was the investment that Schneider Electric is making into the US economy with over $700 million committed to 2027 with new jobs in Texas, Massachusetts, Missouri, and Tennessee. And so the focus on smart factory transformation, and transformation is the buzzword overall, whether or not it's going to be in the data centers or in AI or in energy management, and the way in which we are supporting Schneider Electric as well with its AI transformation. So I'm going to get into that in just a second, but under your role and responsibility, maybe you could just introduce a little bit about what you do and what your purview is for Schneider Electric here in North America.
Yeah, thank you. What a great intro. Like you said it all. You covered a lot there. And with my role at Schneider, I work with our most strategic top customers. My team goes out there and talks about basically everything you said to try to simplify what Schneider can do for them and look at their business holistically rather than transactionally, which don't get me wrong, we love all types of business, but there's certain parts of our business with our customers that we really need to lean in together and see where they're heading into the future and really are they aligned with Schneider as a company, which is to become more digital, more electrified, and more sustainable. And that's really what my team does in North America.
Perfect. And Michelle, you've been in sales for a while and you've seen a lot of different things. Maybe can you just tell me a little bit more about how you came into this role? As something about your way of selling or the way in which you see these types of transformational partnerships evolving, and then how you have been thinking about enabling your sellers to be better partners with your customers.
Yeah, I have been in sales a long time, and it's pretty cool to look back, and I think for everybody to reflect about where you started your career and even the mindset you had and the tools that you use. Perhaps it's almost comical when you think about it over the years, and some of them not even as far back as I go in sales. But I think the driving tenant for me is curiosity. To
Yep.
be good in sales, you have to be curious and legitimately so, right? And not have the person on that you're working with feel like I'm asking you these questions because I have an end game in mind
Yep.
versus just being openly curious. And over my career, moving from a subject matter expert more to what I would call like a generalist, that really liberates you to have the freedom to ask a lot of questions and say, I don't really understand what you guys are doing here. What are you working on? What do the
Yep.
people do in this part of your plant? And it's fascinating to just engage with all the different type of people I get to talk to and understand what's driving them. And I think if you keep that open-minded sort of beginner's mindset, you'll be
Yep.
successful. And there's thinking about sellers and how they go to market now, and utilizing all the tools we'll be talking about. Um, that kind of level sets the playing field for everybody. I think
Yep.
we're going into an era where we all can go into it with this beginner's mindset.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you've probably seen quite a wide variety of different tactics and tools and approaches for how organizations, not only here at Schneider Electric and previously where you've worked, have approached this. How have you seen like the most credible sellers? What are they doing? What are they doing differently, perhaps from the median seller? And what are you looking for to cultivate more of those types of capabilities, competencies?
I think the people who are really, really pulling away from the pack right now are expanding their relationships within their customers, and I think they're starting to get, I have to marry this AI enabled environment with the human interaction. And
Yep.
I have to use the tools that I have in my toolbox from all my digital tools to help me expand the human side of my business, right? And the more relationships I can have with our customers across the board to really understand holistically how we can continue to accelerate together, the better. And I see people embracing just more doing their research.
Yep.
If you go back and say the Sun Tzu Art of War, right? You win the battle before you get on the field, and maybe that's not
Yep.
a great analogy right now, but you know what I'm saying is like
Yes.
preparation is everything, right?
Yeah.
And the prep used to take us so much time
Right.
and to aggregate all this data, and it sometimes became like a game of competitive prep.
Yep.
And again, I think we're leveling the playing field for our really good folks out there
Yep.
using tools to do their prep much faster.
Well, let's maybe dive into that one, because the preparation, if you practice and hopefully you become more of a perfectionist and you improve just naturally, maybe you can talk about some of the pain points prior to when we started working with you in the Schneider Electric team 3 years ago. What were some of the pain points that you saw from some of the team members that would be doing some of that practice and that preparation that you got exposed to? And how does that pain now get resolved in the new world with AI?
Yeah, so much pain. Where do I start? I'd say one thing is customer mapping. Relationship mapping was always, what are they using LinkedIn Navigator? Are they using, websites? Are they using maybe dated information that we hold dear? And I also that's a problem too of people holding information dear and saying, knowing this information makes me at the top of the apex of the pyramid, where in today's environment, sharing the information quickly, that's what the key is, not hoarding your info. But I think customer mapping was a big one, and any basic financial data, understanding what's relevant to the customer in real time, that was a challenge. And then finally, a big pain for us is always in the preparation, the executive brief.
Yep.
So preparing these briefs has just been an exercise in creative writing, and for the reader, it's quite challenging to understand
Yep.
what is it you want me to do and get out of this meeting. That's
Yep.
really the bottom line.
And when you do some of those executive briefs, certainly from the team in the account who's working day to day with the customer, there's a lot of transactional day to day activities which are pain points or issues that they're trying to deal with and navigate through. But to your point around an executive brief, up leveling that up can be challenging to kind of like be able to fly at the 50,000 foot, then at 30,000, then down at ground level. How have you then tried to cultivate that within your team?
Yeah. The first thing we've realized is personal narrative is not the answer, right? I mean, it's part of the answer. Like, can you change your narrative to insights? Because that's what we need is your insight from your personal relationships. But using Databook, right? We go through it, and the brief that's prepared from Databook is really exceptional. If it wasn't, I would say it. Right? I mean, it's just like I've been very impressed, but also marrying that with the tools that we have and getting those things together, but then sharing out with the team and saying, this is what good looks like, and even using tools we have from, like, there was a great article I read recently that talked about the structure of the brief to always remember, what are you trying to get out of this?
Yeah.
What am I going to change? What behavior will we change? This is my hypothesis, but what if it's wrong? What are the
Yeah.
alternatives? But AI, Databook, Copilot, those things have really helped us get much sharper at that
Yep.
narrative.
Yeah.
Faster too, which is scaling, it's everything.
Well, you talk about scale. That's actually a really critical thing. You are looking after hundreds of accounts and managing billions of dollars of revenue, supporting large transformation here in the US. And it's a really important role. Trust and credibility is critical in terms of how Schneider Electric turns up. Can you maybe just talk a little bit about what that means to you and how we are supporting you with that, bringing that trust and credibility?
Yeah, I mean, trust is everything, and I feel I don't think anybody's shocked if when we say there's a trust wobble in the world today, in general, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it from some conferences I'm recently back from, conversations I've had with customers who are, I believe, people are looking for to streamline the choke points in their organization. So to deal with companies that and have deal with relationships where they have had credibility from the past. They feel like there's a promise when we're talking that will be fulfilled. So when we utilize Databook, I know the data that I'm getting and the information I'm getting. One is like I said, in real time. I'm always worried about. I'm talking about something that is no longer relevant. So in our world of information at your fingertips, I think making sure you have relevant information, you have enough that you could sort through and filter and customize to what you need.
Yeah.
And you have a coach involved in it often that we can go and say, hey, can you help me with this? And how am I thinking this through? Those are some things that I think have helped us show up as a
Yeah.
more trustworthy, I almost said partner, but I feel like that could be a bit cliche, but
Yeah.
definitely as a more trustworthy person, colleague in their midst that they're working with. And we, of course, we have to rest that on the foundation of trust that we build.
Yeah.
And you know, the ultimate, I think, pillars of trust I've learned from Dr. Charles Felton are competency, that they
Yep.
believe you can do that, and having this data helps people understand that. Reliability, you know, we have a high say-do ratio,
Yep.
and having the right information prepares you for that, and being authentic. So I think that's
Yeah.
really important, especially in the age of AI, that you personalize it, and that's why I think relationships are so critical. You show up as your
Yeah.
authentic self, but the most important criterion is caring. So
Yeah.
it's not a quid pro quo conversation, but you're able to shape this conversation in a way that I'm working with you so we both get what we need.
Yeah, I love that equation and the trust factor and the way in which you're bringing authenticity to the conversation. And one of the things I've been super impressed, Michelle, and it's truly unique, I think, within a lot of organizations in the world, is that Schneider Electric doesn't necessarily have a lot of entry level sellers. You have people who are working with you who've been around for 15, 20, 30, 35 years and who are adopting these tools. And you talked about human and AI interaction. I'd love to maybe like just dive into one example, if you have one or two examples, where you've seen that type of transformation in your own team in terms of the humans adopting AI and how they're using Databook to be even better prepared and more trustworthy with their incredible with their customers.
Yeah, it's super interesting because when we look at all of our people who are adopting our AI tools, adopting Copilot, Databook, the fastest, it's the people who have been around the longest, which is, it really surprised me. I had an assumption, and never trust your assumptions, that it might be earlier stage career people or people who have had less tenure. And I actually think those of us who have banged our heads using other tools for so many years and are frustrated we can't get what we need have adopted more quickly. And as a matter of fact, we have one of our very tenured sellers who's probably at the top of the heap here using Databook, he's recently told me, you know, hey, this is like my personal assistant now, and almost can't start my day without looking at it. It's updating me in real time. Again, I know I keep saying that, but that's so important to us that we worry we're losing out if we don't have the right information. He's accelerated his relationship with a customer, and I'll name the customer because it's a fantastic company. It's Oxy. They're doing some great things with direct air capture and in the sustainability space, and we're working closely with them. And really, the tools that he's used and utilizing Databook has got him much more well positioned than he was even just a few months ago. So, you know, he's like, hey, I couldn't do this without this. It's super
Yeah.
helpful. And it's
So it
really
definitely,
encouraging to say, if
yeah.
you, and this is an individual who's been with us for 35 years.
That's amazing. And I certainly think that what we're seeing with AI transformation more generally is your top performing, your experts, your folks who are really, really good, and your early adopters. Those are the folks who are tending to be gravitating towards these new solutions and then embedding that in the way in which they're working. There's a group in the middle, the median maybe seller, which we're trying to help and bring along. I think this is where the future is probably going to look a lot more guided, especially in the way in which we're thinking about driving more impact with customers, the transformational impact you're looking to make in the investments you're making in the US. And so maybe give some thoughts as to how you think maybe what's the next sort of evolution of enablement and how you might be adopting AI to bring everyone along, not just the most experienced or the most, the early adopters.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it takes a lot of practice yourself, right? So, you know, someone will send me an email that they perhaps sent out to somebody, and it's as simple as me running it through Copilot and looking at it and sending it back to them and say, maybe you consider it this way.
Yeah.
Yes, Copilot, but also giving the right prompts to how you want it to sound, and then putting maybe your own spin on it so it doesn't have this like unreal feel, which I also see people rejecting
Yes.
AI. So we have to make sure you show up authentically because you lose that combination of the trust, or the part of the equation of the trust. So it's given me an opportunity to coach on that level. And we have to think of ourselves as an augmented Salesforce. It's still not, we're not replacing ourselves, improving our actions and improving how we show up. And I could see, the future where we're going the other way, like constantly pushing off
Yep.
this non-value work. And we're always talking to our team about become a minimalist. Look at your calendar, rake through your calendar. Ask
Yep.
the AI to help you rake through your calendar and get rid of all non-essential things that you're doing, so you can stay laser focused and mission critical. So that's where I see us going, where we're racing to it to say, please take all of this off me so I can really use how myself and the tools that I personally possess that
Yep.
differentiate me from AI. Because I think the future seller, we have to be very, very, and in any business, we have to lean very hard on the human interaction, because we're never going to be better or smarter or faster, perhaps,
Yep.
at many, many tasks. We know that. So what am I good at?
Yep. That's a critical element to this. And actually we talk about using AI, and I love your point around making sure that you're making it authentic around your tone, your approach, your knowledge, and the context that you bring. And that's the human kind of expertise aspect of this. Maybe just talk a little bit more about the human interaction just for a second here, Michele, as you've worked with many organizations and customers and partnerships over the years. Maybe just tell me a little bit more about, you brought up earlier authenticity and building trust and curiosity. Maybe just some examples of the things that you think matter, like in a real life scenario day to day, that we need to continue doing as we use AI to take care of some of the other household items, if you call it, kind of like non customer facing time. What are you doing in the customer facing time that makes a difference?
Well, showing up, number one, and then that could be exhausting, and you're doing a lot of things and say, do I really need to be there? And the answer is yes,
Yep.
and not just for customers, but for each other. And at Schneider, we call it return to people. And I've been doing a lot of that this week. And it can drain your personal energy, so people say like, hey, we're doing all these things. But when you show up, and I was in a great room last night at the LA Clean Incubator, which fantastic organization with founders, and looking at all these new innovative ways to attack our energy challenge. There's a buzz that's created when we're together. Before I went, I used AI tools to understand who was going to be in the room, what we were talking
Yeah.
about, and just so I was prepped. So I'd say just keep showing up, and
Yeah.
you gotta be ruthless about where you show up and use your time. But I think these interactions are important, even when they're on screen like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, and getting your prep done as well, so you can also show up effectively. And then
Mhm.
going back to that individual you mentioned who's been around for 35 years and who's one of the highest adopters and using it with his relationships with Oxy. It sounds like you want to be scaling that type of a behavior with more of your sellers. What do you think it's going to take now to build that next generation of these like really impactful 10x sellers going forward?
I think it's going to take a fair amount of individualized training so people. I really see people are on a bell curve.
Yep.
Even last night we were having some really meaningful conversations about AI, and people were walking away going, "I never thought to use this like this." So I
Yep.
think we're in such early days of adoption, fear. Um, some people sharing out best practices. So I think that's really critical that we use someone like I described on my team as a role model too, to say, look, this is happening. Because at the end of the day, he's driving results, and you know what that
Yeah.
means? It's better for the company, it's better for profits, and it's better for him because he's making his number.
Yep.
So if you want to be a successful person who's driving outcomes, who's a relevant part of this business, you're gonna have to get on this, and you
Yep.
need to really ask yourself, how do I do this? I
Yep.
think it's gonna take it's really an effort, and a lot of it I'm hearing almost word of mouth. When I hear pockets of people doing things, we have to jump on it.
That's awesome, Michele. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me here, talking a little bit about your own personal transformation, what you're really enabling and sponsoring for the team here in North America, and the impact that Schneider Electric's having on the way in which we all live and work. And I really appreciate everything you're doing. And so thank you for that fireside chat here, and wish you a good rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to talk about this, and we could probably talk for longer, but we're both passionate about it, so it's
Yeah,
really great to talk to you.
absolutely. Thanks, Michele.
Thank you.